Barbie. Hello, my name is Hannah and welcome to my channel. This is my chair. Say hi to Chair.
Hi.
Sometimes I cheat on him, I have another chair. But today you may call me Barbie. I like to think of myself as, in this economy, Barbie. As in, Hannah, why didn't you buy a pink shirt for this video? In this economy? I was really skeptical of the Barbie movie when I was first hearing about it. I grew up at a time where, as an athlete, not even that, even before I really started playing basketball, where like anything girly was gross. It was gross. And so I've really been repairing my relationship with pink over the last like 5 to 10 years. And I do feel like I'm in a place now where me and pink, like we're pretty tight. So I was a little caught off guard by how much I was not looking forward to seeing the Barbie movie and how much I disliked the idea of it and kind of everything around it. Then I watched one of my internet crushes review of the Barbie movie and he did not like it. So I was worried. I was worried going into it and I just cannot tell you how much I loved it. Yeah, there were flaws, there were problems, there were issues, there were characters that like kind of didn't need to be there and characters who could have had a little bit more, but overall I loved it. And part of the reason why I loved it is because I felt like on the surface it was intro to feminism, but if you looked like even a little bit deeper, like just a little scratch deeper, really it was about what feminism actually is, which is equality. It really showed how a matriarchy is not feminism. Matriarchy does not equal feminist. You know what? Margot can tell you.
Actually, when I got asked the other day, like, is Barbie a feminist? I was like, well, she's actually like the level up from that. Because if you look at Barbieland at the beginning, like, the Barbies are on top and the Kens are kind of disregarded. So I was like, well, that's not equal.
No, right,
so whatever the opposite of misogynist is, actually, Barbie's like, the power dynamic is in the favor of the Barbies to begin with.
Exactly.
So I was looking at other reviews after I actually watched the movie because I was so confused why Jeremy Jans did not, like, just kind of missed what I feel like the message is. Like, I'm confused at why he is not me. But I watched a few. I watched the Critical Drinkers review, which was inflammatory, but I think that's kind of his shtick, right? And a couple other people who did like it. It was just so interesting. And then the algorithm brought me this video. And I thought, yeah, I'm a masochist. So I should watch it. I'm just so curious. Maybe this video that I'm making right now for you on my dormant channel will get no views, will be nothing, will just be a 3-minute rant and 25 seconds of me watching this person rant about how he's a Ken and not an Alan, but we'll get to that. But I just thought, like, if I was gonna watch this, why not watch it with friends? Because as crazy as that makes me, I feel like it changes the dynamic of how I watch something knowing that we can talk about it in the comment section. So, yeah, honest to God, I'm not really sure who Ben Shapiro is. He's like a right-wing talky guy. He just talks. Like me? Not like me. I'm a left-wing talky girl that few people care about. The thing that intrigued me the most is that this review is 40 minutes long. Like, what could he possibly be talking about for 40 minutes? I mean, we're gonna find out, at least the beginning of it. Future Hannah here. I'm filming this at the end of watching Ben Shapiro's review of the Barbie movie, just to kind of let you guys know what you're in for. There are a lot of things that he brings up that I agree with. There are a lot of things that he brings up that I don't agree with. I had a great time watching this video and filming this reaction. I hope you guys enjoy watching this and come away with it with some new ideas of the Barbie movie and maybe some new ideas of other things too. I don't know, let me know in the comment section, but I'm happy I filmed this as a reaction, as a discussion. One-sided though it was, I didn't really give him an opportunity to respond, but if he ever sees this, like, yeah, call me, bro. Let's get a beer. But I hope you have fun watching this. I hope you laugh along with me, and I would really love to hear your thoughts about this movie, about my reaction, about his reaction in the comment section. So enjoy. I'm oddly excited. This is maybe the first time I've ever listened to anything Ben Shapiro has ever said.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie.
Oh, he has a weird Barbie.
I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is
I
the
haven't
best
seen
blockbuster
Oppenheimer yet.
of 2023, and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet he loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who
kinda
can't wait
funny.
that long, I'm going to give my review of the Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
Oh,
What the Run.
imagine buying, like... That's how you make a weird Barbie. That's how you make a weird Barbie. Just a PSA. If anybody wants to buy my books to trash them, you full permission, please. Just buy them.
So the things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie the movie. And I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill.
Okay, but tell me why. Yes. Okay, but tell me why.
Horrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Production design's really nice.
It's
Costumes
super cool.
are really nice.
Yeah.
Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay? It's really not tough. But put aside all of the beautiful costumes,
I don't know if it's
which is
hard or
there
not
for the
hard.
ladies,
That's not...
and all of the production design and the Barbie universe
Did
and
you
all
say
of
the
that.
costumes were only there for the ladies?
Every joke that happened, beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies.
Guys
in
don't
this
like
film happens
outfits.
basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, like in Barbie house, there's no actual
There's
water.
no actual water.
Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh
So
my
far,
God,
this is
because
fair.
she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes.
That's not all the jokes.
There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
There are, but...
The movie's a show.
Okay.
The movie is a show. I want to ask this. Who is the intended audience for this film?
Me!
Who's the intended audience for this film?
It's
I'll
me.
tell you who the
It's me!
intended audience for this film is. And I can tell two ways. One, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So, the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intended audience for the film.
I am not a mom, and I'm not 8. So also me added to that list. Okay, Ben, tell me more.
I know because the previews for the film were all kids' movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids' films. We're talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls 4 or whatever.
I
Those
agree
were
with
all
that.
the previews, right?
I feel
all
like
the previews are...
I haven't watched any of the previews, but from what I saw of the marketing, I was not expecting the movie that I got. And I've heard this criticism of the movie from a few different places, so I think that's fair, that you were surprised. For me, a happy surprise. For Mr. Shapiro, not happy, sad surprise.
Actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms, like youngish moms, middle-aged moms, with their 6, 7, 8-year-old girls.
And me!
This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, whoever's the marketing team over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job.
Yeah,
Week
facts.
one, this thing is going to clean
Facts.
up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is...
Let's check. Let's check. How do I check that? Barbie box office week 2. Haha. Okay, sorry, Benny. Benny and the wrong guess.
going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, and Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience. I mean, who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls. So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying to separate...
Okay, I do think that is so close to the point. So close to it. But then not it, you know? The movie, maybe I should have started off by saying I'm gonna be talking about spoilers. Spoilers! The movie ends with Barbie world remaining a matriarchy and showing that the Kens are still oppressed. And as a reflection of the real world, it can't be better because we're not better. You know? That's what I felt that the takeaway was. That like, a matriarchy is also not good.
Break this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems with the politics and so on, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the beginning. There's going to be lots of spoilers.
Yes.
But believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time because
you're
this
wasting
movie is
my
2
time, but
hours.
I'm really
it
happy
feels like it is
to
longer
have
than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end. Every scene is at least
wasted.
2 minutes too long. Every single scene.
I would not say every scene, but there are several scenes that are a bit long.
Like, really. I was sitting there with a bunch of my producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers.
What?
My producers were watching this, putting the politics aside. It is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers.
Okay, I think that putting the politics aside is not possible. Like, this is just a personal philosophy, but I think everything has some element of politics, even if you are saying you're apolitical, it's still a political statement, you know? So I don't know that it's possible to separate politics from something else, but please discuss it with me in the comment section. I'd love that.
If you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing's just
it wasn't a sly insertion of
and I mean,
politics.
Boy, is this Drek. This is a Death Star-sized piece of Drek. It is like, that's no moon. That's a Drek station. That is this movie. Okay, so let's jump into it. I have like pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece
I'm so excited.
My goodness.
Why am I so happy for this?
So it's from the beginning, you know what this movie is going to be, and it's going to be a very cynical take on what Barbie is, which is so weird. I
think
don't know
from the
why
beginning we don't know that,
over
though.
its IP to filmmakers who clearly hate the IP. It's as though you were going to make Toy Story, except that toys are all evil. They're all bad, and you're supposed to hate them, and you should burn them. Because that's kind of the message of the film, is that the Barbies are bad for the world. Okay, so.
I don't think that's the message for the world.
We have Helen Mirren here to tell us, in the form of a narrator apparently played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's speaking from heaven. And we get a 2001 A Space Odyssey flashback. Which again, who's the audience for this? Like, the reference points in this film, it references variously Marcel Proust.
I agree with I actually have never seen 2001 A Space Odyssey. I know. Shame. Genuflect. I didn't love the opening. I liked part of the idea of the opening, but I didn't really like the kids destroying the baby dolls. I didn't love that. It made me feel kind of yucky, actually.
It references Robert Evans and the cinematography of The Godfather. It references 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls.
I thought they were 8.
Well, folks, wasting 2 hours of my precious time, 2 hours I will never get back. 2 hours where on my deathbed, I will wish that I had not spent that time.
Well, this video of a review
but I'm
is
going to
doing
talk to
pretty
you
well,
about
so
something.
I'm sure he's quite pleased.
It starts with Helen Mirren explaining that back in the day, girls would only play with dolls that looked like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother. Because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom, you see. So that's,
I don't think
if you ask her
Helen
mom,
Mirren said
she wants to play
that.
at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie is...
Yo, parents sometimes want to not be parents. Like, why do babysitters even exist? Benny! Parents sometimes want to not be parents for a couple hours.
Be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood. But she fails. And she fails for 2 reasons. 1, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system.
Well,
and
aren't
2,
we
the
all?
real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so this is all not implicit. This is explicitly said. At the beginning, the monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. And that's one of the messages of the film. In the real world, men run pretty much everything. Which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit? I mean, Greta Gerwig.
Okay.
Is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling, is women. So,
half of the cast is Kens!
Okay. But, again, put aside the meta logic of it. I'm going to go through, like, a lot of beats here. So it starts off with the idea that mommy dolls are bad and insufficient. But then they criticize Mattel for discontinuing a mommy doll named Midge. Right? Midge is the pregnant doll, and it was discontinued. They're like, that's bad. Wait, but hold on, you just said that dolls about motherhood are bad, but then this one... Don't look for any sort of logical coherence.
I kind of feel that way about this review, or at least that section of this review. A pregnant doll is kind of weird because then she's pregnant forever. I don't think... Is a pregnant woman a mom?
Butterfly in the sky.
That can be a question for another day. I mean, yes, but like, no. But yeah, but no. I don't think that has anything to do with the baby dolls in the beginning. Like, I don't know that there's actually a link between Mattel discontinuing a pregnant doll and the opening of a Barbie movie okay.
Citizens United reference. They say all of the members of the Barbie Supreme Court are women. And then they are speaking out about Citizens United, that corporations are not people. It's literally a Citizens United reference. Who is the audience for this? Who is the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I too have a very informed perspective.
Who's the audience for The Lion King?
What do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the hula? Wow!
I just love that line. Like, I love watching kids' movies as an adult and being like, oh.
The Citizens United decision. And then they say that logic and feeling at the same time, it doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right? It's all propagandistic. And then it sets up the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction.
Okay, so this is one of the points of the film that I feel like a lot of people, I have not heard people talk about it, which is the Barbie world is not meant to be a utopia. It's not. Like, it's not okay. The Barbie world is not okay. To be happy all the time is not okay, right? Like, why is that? Why do people think the Barbie world is supposed to be a utopia?
In terms of their roles. So women only exist if they are completely free of men, and men only exist if they are completely free of women. And the problem for Ken, the problem is set up for Ken, is that Ken is dependent on Barbie, right? Because Ken is kind of secondary. And we also set up at the very beginning that Barbie doesn't like Ken. She finds Ken annoying. She finds Ken ridiculous, which, again, is sort of against the concept of Ken and Barbie. But the basic idea is that Barbie is an independent woman and Ken is completely superfluous.
Well, something about Barbie that was very revolutionary is that she had a boyfriend, not a husband. So I think that the movie just took that perhaps a step further to show that this matriarchal world is oppressing half the population, and that's not okay. But by all means, Benny, continue.
We then go to the beach, and there's a scene on the beach where the Kens are supposed to be the lifeguards, and the ladies are playing on the beach.
They're not lifeguards.
And we get a series of gay masturbation jokes. Again, there's an audience for children. They're talking about beaching each other off.
That was funny.
There's a line
Nobody's
where Ken says to
beaching
another one of the
anybody
Kens,
off. I'm gonna beach you off.
Get it? You get it? Because it's like beat you off, but beach you off. And then they repeat that no less than 4 or 5 times.
Oh, way more.
In the span of 45 seconds.
Way more than that.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken.
Like
I'll beat
20
you off any
times.
day, Ken.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beat both of you
More.
off at the same time.
More.
Beat both of us off.
Nobody's gonna beach anyone.
Only
off.
7? I thought it was legitimately 20. I thought it was 20.
It's such a great gay masturbation joke. You got to go for it. I mean, what else will the 7-year-old girls in the audience?
Butterfly in the sky.
Okay.
Girls in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke on the beach. Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the president of the United
That's such a
States.
silly thing to
And
say.
then we get the break, right? Then we get the actual plot point. Plot point number 1. Barbie has irrepressible thoughts of death.
Yeah.
So again, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's movie? Isn't this supposed to be made for 7-year-old girls? Nope. It's about existential angst.
Angst?
Angst.
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 Right, one of the Barbies is a trans Barbie. And this is treated totally normally, as though this is a female Barbie with a voice, again, deeper than my own. So
I actually don't want to be canceled for this, but is it bad that I didn't pick that up? I just thought she was a Barbie. I mean, she is a Barbie. Is that bad? Am I canceled? Please don't cancel me.
Barbie starts to have these irrepressible thoughts of death. And this comes along with physical symptoms, like, for example, her feet flatten out. Again, this is one of the few cute jokes in the movie, is that Barbie walks around And just like a normal Barbie doll, when you take off the shoes, the feet are shaped like the shoe.
I thought he said
like a high
the
heel.
only jokes are in the
But
first
now
45
she's
seconds
turning
of the
into like
movie.
that's all the jokes.
That's not all the jokes.
There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
There are, but...
The movie's a show.
Okay.
Real world person, and so her feet collapse, right? And so she goes to see Weird Barbie. So Weird Barbie
funny.
is a Barbie that has been played with too hard and has all the knowledge, not only about Barbieland, but also about the real world. And
Yeah.
apparently, there's a connection between the people playing with the Barbies and the Barbies. So if the people playing with Barbies are sad.
I do think that the Barbie world is like the wizarding world of Harry Potter. The longer you think about it, the less it makes sense, so just go with it. It's a story.
Barbies also get sad. Weird that this has only happened to Barbie because it turns out that lots of people are sad and have played with Barbies for a very long time. But that's the plot point. Fine.
That's
and again,
exactly
the
right.
concept
That's the
of like
plot
a Barbie
point,
that was
fine.
played with too hard is very funny because everybody has seen that before. And they somehow blow this. Somehow they make this into a not funny thing.
Oh, I thought it was
So
a very
Weird
funny
Barbie
thing.
is
So we could just agree
ugly
to
and
disagree.
she has bad makeup and all the rest of it. And she
I don't know
informs
that
Barbie
she's
she has to go
ugly,
to the
but
real
okay.
world and she has to find the person who is playing with her and she has to make that person feel better because that will heal the problem that she's having in Barbie. So we have our plot point, right? We have
Yes.
the thing that's going to launch
We
us off
do.
into the rest of the movie. And then it's just a complete mess from here on in. At least to
It's
this
like
point, it's
not-
kind of dumb but coherent. From here on in, it makes no sense at all. Again,
Okay.
Kate McKinnon sets up the dichotomy that pretty much the makers of the film hate Barbie by suggesting that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie and you can take the Barbie shoe or you can take Birkenstocks, right? You can become like a Portland lesbian and you can learn about reality.
I am a Toronto, Ottawa straight person, and I love my Birkenstocks.
That's going to be the choice that you have to make, but not before she makes a joke about Ken and wanting to see the nude blob he is packing under those pants.
That's somebody said that?
Perfect for 8-year-old girls, ladies. Mothers, just be warned. Ken and Barbie head off to the real world to try to find the person who is playing with Barbie. And immediately upon arriving in the real world, Barbie is hit with an overwhelming tsunami of sexism. Like right away.
I feel
boom,
like,
she
yeah,
walks in,
there's
and
one
a bunch of men just leer at her
instance
and
that
say,
was-
"Give us a smile, blondie."
Okay, first, I feel like if everybody was wearing such drab colors, which is not real life, I feel like somebody else would have been wearing fun colors. And two gorgeous, very brightly colored blondes started rollerblading down the street. They'd get a lot of looks. And like over half of those, not over, but like there's a lot of those looks that are for Ken too, right? Like that's who I'd be whistling at. I don't catcall men. I just think about catcalling men and then I repress the urge. But I think about it a lot.
Which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past. Give us a smile, blondie. Seriously?
It was a little on the nose.
We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and gazing at her, they have an undertone of violence. Everything's she's threatened. She's physically threatened because this is the real world.
That is the
real
one
world
that I felt
is not
like
Barbieland.
was
In
not
the real world,
necessary.
all
Her little thing about feeling conscious but about herself, like that was really funny that she had never felt that way before. And now because people were looking at her in a way she wasn't used to, she felt self-conscious. And I also understand that self-consciousness would have an undertone of violence. And that's not necessarily because of what anybody else is doing. It's just because you are feeling a way that you don't normally feel, so you do not feel safe anymore. So I think that was really funny. The slap on the ass, I do think was maybe a bridge too far. It was funny that she punches a stranger in the face, but I also feel like that's not, you can kill somebody by punching them in the face. You know, concussions are no joke, and stay hydrated as well. But that one I'll give. The construction workers going like line for line for line for line for line, that was very funny. I wonder if the Barbie construction workers do that to the Kens. They probably do. Because a matriarchy is not true feminism. That's not equality for everybody. Am I just gonna anger everyone with this video? And like, do I care because I'm having a fucking blast?
women are victims. They are deep and abiding victims of the system. As we'll learn by the use of the word patriarchy no less than 10 times in this film. She gets arrested like twice
Yeah,
for
that made
various
no
crimes.
sense for me.
Even the police
I didn't really like
officers
that
are
stuff.
rabid, raging sexists. The police officers are hitting on Barbie. They're making observations about her appearance. Ken, meanwhile, is getting super happy because Ken, who's been sort of an underling in Barbieland, now he's realizing he's part of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is awesome.
Well, no, I think Ken is realizing, what a freeze frame. Ken is realizing that he has been oppressed, you know, which is like an important thing for the Kens to learn. And their reaction to it is very extreme, which is also an important thing for all of us to observe, is that the oppressed aiding in the oppression of another group is a bad thing.
Ken is loving the patriarchy. Now, you might imagine at this point that the way the film is going to go is that Ken and Barbie are going to have to some sort of agreement about seeing each other as equal human beings. You might imagine that's where it's going. Wrong. That's not where the film is going.
Exactly.
You might have thought that what you were going to get was Ken gets treated with respect,
right,
as a person,
but he doesn't.
And Barbie gets treated with respect as a person.
Yes.
And that's a better. Nope. Wrong. In the end, not to skip ahead, Barbieland just gets restored, and the men are still subservient.
Yes, and I think that this movie does not have a happy ending. Like, people it ends on a joke, but it doesn't end happy. And I think that's the key difference into how people who are criticizing the movie are viewing it through the lens of a matriarchy is feminism and a matriarchy equals a happy ending, which I just don't think that's the goal. And if it is, it shouldn't be. Barbie doesn't have a happy ending. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's the best version of the world. Okay, so Ken is walking around and he's really enjoying the patriarchy.
I love
and
that
all
dance
this.
sequence. It was
And,
so funny.
He explains that men rule this world.
Yeah.
And he goes to Mattel, and all the members of the board are men.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to see a corporate breakdown of the Mattel board. I'll bet I can find it.
Oh, are you gonna do it for me?
Like
I was
the
gonna do
CEO
it.
of Mattel for 30 years was a woman. So there's that. They pretend that like Mattel is all run by men. So I
Yeah,
just
it's
now
part of
I
the
want
joke.
to know who's on the board.
Benny.
Okay, chairman and CEO is a dude. The board includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It includes 5 women.
Out of-
So it's 6 men and 5 women.
Okay.
Clearly
Great.
patriarchal domination. Clearly patriarchal domination. Just wanted to look that up just for the sake of.
I just feel like there's a
accuracy.
deeper. I mean,
Whenever I do
like,
these
I think that, like, great job, Mattel. I think for the movie, it's like a overblown version of everything. Like that's why the sexism was so rampant, which I think was a little harsh. But I think to create such a dichotomy for Barbie, such an internal crisis for her, the board had to be all men. You know? That doesn't... Anyways.
He's like, oh, you're taking the movie too seriously. The movie takes itself too seriously, guys.
The movie takes itself very...
It pretends to be a comedy, but it's taking itself super seriously.
I think it is not just
it's all men
a
at the top
comedy.
of
It is
Mattel,
funny,
and they
but it's
realize
not
that Barbie
just
and
that.
Ken have escaped Barbieland.
Yeah.
And this presents some sort of threat. What kind of threat? Because the writers are shitty. They don't bother explaining. They're just like, a threat.
Fair.
And Will Ferrell acts all weird and goofy. Like Will Ferrell. And he's funny because it's Will Ferrell acting weird and goofy. But he's not funny.
Okay, this is my idea. I think that what should have happened is that the longer Barbie was in our world, the two worlds were colliding or changing each other. And so that's why that goofy chase scene happened, because I really hated that. That chase scene was such a waste of time for me. Like, why is this happening? Why can't you just catch her? Like, it makes no sense. Unless the actual threat is that Barbie in our world makes it more cartoonish and Barbie world, and humans in the Barbie world make that world more like our world. And that's why we want to separate them. So, like, I agree with that criticism. Please continue, Ben.
Because it's just Will Ferrell with no actual plot or dialogue to speak of, just being weird.
Yeah, agreed. He was in the movie for too long.
There's so many places in the script where it's basically like the writers just, they left a gap and they're like, we'll leave a couple asterisks, we'll fill it in later. And then later they got there and they're like, nah, we'll just skip right over it. Fine.
I kind of
So
agree.
They got to track down Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Barbie is trying to track down the girl who's playing with her. And she
Yeah.
mistakenly thinks that it is a teenage girl who is playing with her and who is unhappy. And at this point, she receives a lecture from the teenage girl about how Barbie has ruined the world and actually is fascist. How Barbie is a sexualized capitalistic emblem. How Barbie has created unattainable feminine ideals.
Yeah.
How Barbie is ruining the planet with rampant consumerism. You get like this full lecture right in the middle of the film. It's truly awful. It's truly awful. She's called a fascist. By the way, it only sets up the only good line of the film, truly in my opinion. There's one good line in the film, and that is where Barbie is trying to contemplate whether she's a fascist or not, and she says, I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce. Now, there's only one problem with that line, as with the entire movie. There is no character consistency. Barbie is supposed to be an idiot bubblehead piece of plastic from Barbieland. How does she...
I don't think she's supposed to be an idiot. I feel like there are a lot of assumptions going into how people are supposed to act, which I guess is like human nature, right? So that's fine. But I don't think she's supposed to be an idiot. I think she's supposed to be naive, not stupid. You know? There was something else that I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was now. And I'm already pausing so much. I hope you guys aren't getting mad about it. But if you are, leave a comment.
How does she know what a fascist is? How does she know about the flow of commerce? Like, again, just in terms of character consistency.
Wonder Woman had a
characters who actually
similar
are the
issue.
characters.
Wonder Woman had a similar issue that really annoyed me because she didn't know at one point like what the word marriage meant, but she speaks like 8,000 languages. Come on, guys.
Makes no sense whatsoever. So, meanwhile, Ken is wandering around, enjoying the patriarchy more and more and more. And he's
He was
asking
so
men about the
great.
patriarchy.
Ryan
And at
Gosling
one
is
point,
so
he asks
great.
a dude about the patriarchy, and the guy says, well, that's not really the way that it works here anymore. He says, really? He says, no, it still works that way. We just hide it really well. Again, you can't even present the mild other side of the film. And this sort of nonsense continues. The first
I like
third
that
of the
line. It
film
was
is
kinda
about how Mattel is kind of bad for creating this fancy land. Second third of the film is about the real world evils of the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Culminating in an idiotic line where one of the low-level members of Mattel is with the board, and Barbie is looking for a woman at the board. And the low-level man says, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman?
I forgot about
No,
that
you can't
line.
parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. Okay? And in any case,
I cannot parallel park. I had no idea it was because of my vagina. My sister is actually really good at parallel parking though, so that can't be it.
we get here a few obscure jokes about Proust Barbie, because again, Noah Baumbach has to show that he wrote some of the script. He made a reference to Proust. Doesn't that make him clever? Ooh. Next, he will make a reference, I would assume, to Victor Hugo. Wow. Proust. Ooh. Idiots who think they're smart. It's total. Okay, then.
Idiots who think they're smart. Benny, don't call yourself out like that. Love yourself.
Barbie escapes the Mattel building. They were going to package her up and they were going to send her back to Barbie.
Yeah. The box never
and
coming
she
back.
Instead
I disliked.
runs and she
That
escapes
makes
the Mattel building.
no sense.
And she hooks up with America
Are
Ferrera.
you kidding me?
So America
Are
Ferrera.
you kidding me? He's not even going to tear apart this chase scene? That's literally the one part of the movie that makes me so fucking angry and it makes no goddamn sense and he's not even going to talk about it? Ah! Okay.
Is the actual one who's playing with Barbie as a youth. And it's her daughter who Barbie had originally approached. Twist! Okay, and she decides that in order to escape the Mattel executives, she's going to have to bring both of them back to Barbieland. Why does she bring both of them back to Barbieland? No one knows.
Yeah.
There's no actual
because the plot.
There's no explanation as to why she's supposed to bring both of them back to Barbieland. Supposedly, it's because she needs to escape back to Barbieland, but she could do that without the two of them.
She
But
could.
She decides she's going to bring them back.
Yeah.
So she brings them back to Barbieland.
Because reasons,
Meanwhile,
yeah.
the Mattel executives
Correct.
are chasing her.
Yeah.
Now, question: why are they chasing her? They achieved their goal. Barbie's back in Barbieland.
Fair.
Why are they still chasing her?
Okay, so fair question. And I think the answer to that should have been because she brought humans back with her, and I can't remember whether or not that is told to us.
No one knows. It doesn't make any sense. They literally say, there will be consequences you can't even imagine.
And then they don't tell us.
They're like, what consequences? And they're like, fill in the blank. And some dude says something about a podcast with two trees. You're like, that's the laziest shitty writing. God bless it. Okay, anyway. So Ken, in the meantime, he is already headed, while she was, futzing around over at Mattel, Ken is already headed back to to Barbieland, where he has immediately
Dojo
established
Mojo
the
Casa
patriarchy.
House.
So just to point out here, the point of the film is that the matriarchy is amazing. Women are amazing at everything. Ken walks in, and within 2 seconds,
I think the message is that matriarchies are also bad, and women can be amazing at everything.
he has taken over all of Barbieland, and he has turned it into the Kendom within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So apparently the women are so unbelievably competent and brilliant and great at everything over in Barbieland that an idiot man walks in and takes over the whole place inside of 2 seconds. Fine. So he takes over the entire place. We later learn that's because the women, they didn't know what was coming. We later learn they didn't have immunity. And the way that they get immunity is by learning to hate the men. That's the way.
I don't know if
they have
that's
to learn to hate
accurate.
men. Okay, so Ken
I
decides
will
he's gonna
say
go-
that how the Kens were able to brainwash the Barbies so easily, they could have had even one line. Like the line that they had to try and explain it compared this to smallpox for indigenous people. So I feel like it could have been done a little bit better. Fair. The deprogramming of them, I enjoyed, and I think it was for real world. It was for the audience, not necessarily for the plot. Because reasons, it worked because reasons, because plot armor.
He's going to go back and he's going to establish his patriarchal system. we only learn this when Barbie heads back with America Ferrera and Random Daughter. And Ken immediately starts acting like
Random
the jerks
Daughter
of the
is
patriarchy.
so
He
fair.
calls her baby. He calls her baby. The greatest of all insults.
Oh, you know what should have happened
And
is
then
that
America
Ken was
Ferrera
like
is trying to
also
explain
infected.
to Barbie what exactly is going on. And she's like, it's just like the indigenous people and smallpox. They had no immunity. Howard Zinn wrote the script. So the ladies in Barbieland had no immunity to the magic of the patriarchy.
I think the Kens should have also had no immunity. I think that would have been so interesting if like Ken got infected with this thing, with like superiority or something, and went back, and it was like a slow trickle through, and like maybe time moves differently in Barbieland than it moves in the real world. He's not wrong. Like, it could have been done better. Yeah.
Patriarchy, the magic. Women were seduced into... So, just to point out here, the actual argument the movie is making is that if women enjoy men, it's because they have been brainwashed by the patriarchy. They make this message explicit
I don't think that's
in just a
true.
few minutes in the film. And when I say a few minutes, I mean several years, because this film took years off my
Enjoy
life. It is
most
long,
men.
it is boring, and it's terrible.
Maybe not this one.
Okay, so the Kens are about to perform... None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens are about to have a vote to change the Constitution. Why?
Because reasons!
Ken literally just sees power. He's a fascist. What the f*** is he gonna vote
Because
for?
they need a plot point.
Why are they voting?
Because they need a
He
clock.
sees power. Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Because why would they hold a vote? The Kens appear to be in a minority in Barbieland. There are a lot more Barbies than Kens. So if that's the case, why even do
I love
the
that he's
Democratic
taking
vote
this
thing?
so
Why not just seize the
seriously
power?
too.
Because then you
That's
wouldn't have
true.
the rest of the dumb plot of this stupid
Yeah,
film. So, they decided they're
exactly.
gonna hold the vote. And not only are they going to hold the vote, they're going to be very fair about it. They're going to hold it in 48 hours. They're going to hold it in a couple of days.
Yeah.
To make sure that the Barbies have time to actually form a council.
Yes.
Why would they do that? No reason. Asterisk, we'll fill it in later. Okay, so they decide they're going to hold this dumbass vote.
The thing is, so many movies and stories are like this, you know, and movies don't really have enough time to always fill in all of these gaps. TV shows I'm more critical of because I feel like they have more time to be better. But yeah, a lot of this is like because reasons, you know, like so many stories because reasons.
And the Barbies learn about this, and Barbie is very depressed because Barbie realizes that all the other Barbies have been taken in by the patriarchy, and this is extremely bad. Now, here's one place where you have a serious continuity error in the film. So, Margot Robbie, who plays Barbie at the beginning, half the time she plays Barbie is kind of stiff like a doll, and half the time she plays Barbie is just kind of normal. And so now she plays it super stiff like a doll. She sits down, you know, in kind of 90-degree position like a Barbie would, and she keels over in the 90-degree position. And it would be funny, except she hasn't been doing it the whole film.
It was funny.
The level of inconsistency and bad filmmaking here is just off the chart. They needed somebody to actually sit down with them and be an adult in the room, and no one was there. So, at this point, America Ferrera and daughter decide they've given up on Barbie because Barbie won't fight for herself. And so they take off. And Michael Cera, for no reason,
The
is in
true
the film.
hero
He's in
of
the
the
back of the car,
movie.
and we don't know.
I love Alan. Like, in a world of Kens, be an Alan.
Because I'm a guy, I have pride. You're not a guy.
I am.
No, the world is full of guys. Be a man.
Know why.
Okay, why is he in the film? To show that, like, he is the not, like, he is most men, you know? I feel like most men are pretty great. Just like most people are great and have that potential to be just like so great. And that is him. He is that guy because we need a representation of a positive male figure in this movie. And I think the guy who played Adam in Sex Education, I can't remember his character's name, I feel like there must be something on the cutting room floor where he is the real world Alan. And I don't know why that didn't happen because why else is he in this movie? This character was completely unnecessary. America Ferrera could have picked up the phone. The phone call could have gone directly to Will Ferrell's character. Like I'm just going to call him Adam. Adam was completely unnecessary in this movie unless he was going to be a real world version of Alan and he was going to help Barbie or America Ferrera or the daughter or somebody at some point in the movie. And he was never that. That's something that I feel like they really missed was having a real world Alan. But Benny, not that you'll ever watch this, but to answer your question, that's why Alan is in the movie.
I'm confused about that.
And he serves no purpose other than to have a random fight scene. And also so that they can make a Trump building the wall reference. Right? They're apparently the Kens are going to build a wall to keep people from getting in or getting out. Now, here's the weird part. No one has ever entered or exited Barbieland before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall?
Skipper did. They said that in the beginning
Trump
of the
reference
movie.
that everybody who is friends with Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod like the morons they are. And so the daughter and the mom, they decide, no, we have to go back and we have to save Barbieland. They're going to save Barbieland. And who do they go to? They go to
Barbie.
wise, weird lesbian Barbie. They go back to
Why is she a lesbian?
And they ask her about this. And they bring Barbie with them. And they're going to try to figure out a strategy. How do they stop the Kens from winning the vote? Now,
why is she
you might
not
say to
a
yourself,
lesbian?
wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency, the women? They have no agency, apparently. So apparently the women have no agency, and they are a majority, and yet they have to be deprogrammed. They're going to be deprogrammed by weird Barbie and her crazy cadre of feminist heroes.
And Alan.
I love you guys.
And this is when we start getting into the real. You think it's propagandistic so far? Oh man, wait. Here is where we get into like the real meat of it. Okay, so we end up with Barbie complaining. She's complaining to weird Barbie. And she says, oh my God, they've brainwashed all the other Barbies. They've brainwashed all the other Barbies. She says, quote, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There is no in between. And weird Barbie says, tell me about it.
That's me. I'm
and
weird and ugly. This is the perspective of the film. Not brainwashed.
Either you're a third wave feminist kook who hates men, truly hates men, or you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
I feel like the Kens are brainwashed. That's part of it. Is that not part of it? That the Kens are brainwashed? Am I the only one who thought those? Hi, Barbie.
There's no in between. There's no actual relationship between men and women. There can't be any sort of fulfilling relationship
Except
between
Alan.
men and women.
Alan
there are no
has
decent
all
males
that.
in the entire film. All
Alan!
The only man who even appears mildly is America Ferrer's husband, who's just kind of a joke. He's there for literally 10 seconds in the film, making jokes about how he can't speak Spanish. That's his whole role in the film.
I agree
Every other
about
man is a
that.
piece of shit in the film.
Alan
Everyone
is great.
So, this is the perspective of the film when you come right down to it. Either you are
He's trying
brainwashed
to not
or
understand.
you are weird and ugly. And Barbie's like, yeah, that's what Barbie says. I mean, the only decent male is Alan, who apparently wants to wear pink and probably is supposed to be gay. I mean, that is supposed to be pretty clear from the film. Although, really, the take of the film is that all the Kens are gay. That's really the take of the film. It's all homoerotic kind of stuff.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
In any case, the filmmakers are so insecure with even their own script that they then have the narrator jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And they're like, Margot Robbie. They literally jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point.
They did.
Maybe
It was
you shouldn't have
funny.
written the point.
It was a
Maybe
joke.
you shouldn't write it like that. Maybe you should not be a writer. Maybe you could do that. Okay, no. Okay, this is when we get the full bore.
I wonder how, like, Benny feels in his life. Like, is he sad? Does he need a hug or like a nap? Or a popsicle?
Of the film. And guess what, guys? The thesis of the film, made by women, made for women, made starring women, funded by a studio that is largely staffed by men. The take of the film is that it is impossible to be a woman in the modern age. Absolutely impossible.
I think the takeaway of this lecture, like this monologue, is that the expectations placed upon women are impossible to achieve. And I think, unfortunately, we're moving more and more towards, if we're not already there, that the expectations of men are now also impossible. You know, it's like we were waiting for the one to balance the force, and instead of like what we thought balance was, he just like killed everybody, and then there's 2 Sith and 2 Jedi. There's balance. Like, this is not the balance. Like, having unrealistic pressures placed on men is not the balance that I was looking for or hoping for. And yet, this is the balance that we're going towards, is that just like everybody has unrealistic expectations placed on them. I wonder what I'm going to title this video. Maybe I'll roll through a bunch of different titles to see how each one does.
Long speech of America Ferrera talking about how it's so difficult to be a woman. They want us to be this way, but not that way. They want us to be thin,
talking about the
but they don't want us to say that we're
expectations.
thin. They want us to earn money, but they don't want us to earn money.
That's
They want
true.
us to do this, and they don't want us to do that. They want us to answer for men's bad behavior, but they don't want us to offend men. They
That's
want us to do this,
true.
and they don't want us... Oh my God, it's so difficult to be a woman. So the
I
same
think it's just difficult to be a
tried-tuistic
person.
bullshit that they've been
Like,
propagating
it's hard.
in every new wave feminist film for the last 45 years in the United States is now essentially telescoped into this one speech from America Ferrera, including A few cutaway shots of Margot Robbie looking up adoringly at America Ferrera as she explains that it's super hard to be a woman. It's so damn...
I'm trying to think if I've ever read something that I intentionally, like I just went into it wanting to hate it. And the only thing I can think of is the second and third Red Rising books, because I really disliked the first one. I don't know if there's anything I've really gone into wanting to... Maybe the Red Rising books, but Severo was so great. Like, he was just... I love that guy.
Difficult to be a woman. You know why? Because of the patriarchy. Because of the men. That's the actual story.
I mean, the patriarchy hurts us all.
And then they make a couple of other dumb
maybe
references, right? The Zack Snyder cut. Men, that's the Zack Snyder cut. Wow.
That was
Then
funny.
they say, you know what we need to do? We need to disabuse all of these Barbies of the patriarchy. How are we going to do this? We need to allow them to live with the cognitive dissonance required to be a woman under the patriarchy. That's a line from Barbie.
Yeah.
Now again, they keep doing this. They keep having Barbie drop these extremely literate and well-articulated lines, but she's supposed to be a plastic doll idiot.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
It doesn't matter. What is their actual strategy?
It's a joke.
So they have 48
She's
hours
naive,
to
but
stop
very
these women,
intelligent.
which shouldn't be happening in the first place because it makes no plot sense. Because the men are fascists and the women are victims. But somehow they've been given 48 hours to stop the vote. So what are they going to do to stop this
Plot
vote?
armor.
How are they going to do it? Well, they're going to separate the men and the women.
Barbie!
Oh!
They're going to turn all the Barbies against the Kens.
No.
So subtle. The symbolism is so subtle.
No,
turn
no,
all
no.
the women against the men.
That's
and you will
not
save
what it
society.
was. The men against
That's
the
message.
Kens
You
against
could be
each
shoveling
other.
directly into the brain of your 8-year-old.
They even
girl,
said that
if
in
you
the
so
movie.
choose.
Did we watch the same movie?
Maximum volume.
That is probably
they literally say this: get the Barbies away from their
That
Kens.
was a funny joke.
How are they going to achieve this? Well, they're going to make the men complacent and then take their power. This is how women have achieved power. Now, let me just digress briefly.
I mean, it was
in
all
how
a
women
joke.
actually achieved power in Western civilization. The answer is that they lobbied men and men gave it to them.
Yes.
That is the actual answer as to how women achieve power in Western.
That's literally how anything, that's how it always happens. The people in power realize that what they're doing is not okay and they try and be better. That is beyond men and women, beyond black and white, beyond class, beyond religion. That's always how it happens. That's how else could it happen unless you're slaughtering the entire group of people that are in power? And then what power do they actually have? I'm sure that's happened somewhere in the world. I just don't know. But I feel like so many social movements, please, if you know of a social movement that has not happened because the people in power were lobbied and then they shared, please tell me because I would like to read about it. I am curious about that. I would like to know. I mean, I think lobbied is also a very light way of putting what happened in all of these different movements because like the oppressed group, whatever the oppressed group was, like they did put pressure, like it wasn't just asking and then the group in power giving. The minority anyways. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Civilization. The amendment to the Constitution that allowed women to vote was passed solely by men because women couldn't vote.
Yeah.
It turns out there are a lot of good-hearted men out there who like women.
Like Alan!
And who want women to be able to live lives that they want. It turns out that many of us are husbands and fathers. Many of us have daughters. Many of us love the people we're married.
Stop it. I was so on board with what he was saying until he said, I have a mother. Benny, you were so close!
We're married to. It turns out that that actually describes a huge number of Western men, that we are not your enemies. And yet the entire premise of the movie is that what actually happened in the feminist movement is that women seized the power away from the men. I'm sorry to break it to you, ladies, it ain't true.
I don't know that anybody thinks
It
that
ain't
that's
true.
what happens.
And
except
this notion that women
for him,
vote as a
I
block
guess.
is not true. Married women vote very much like their husbands, actually. Single women vote more like a block now than they did before. But it turns out that people are individuals.
It's
and some
almost
women
like
vote one way
there's
and some
no
women vote
one is a
another way.
monolith.
But again, the idea here is very simplistic. Men versus women. Battle royale. And that's what this literally turns into, a battle royale
Of the
between the women
Kens.
and the men. But
No,
really
of
it's
the
about getting the
Kens.
men to fight each other. They
Yes,
bring all the
that's-
Barbies one
yes.
by one. They distract them. They bring the Barbies in one by one. And they unbrainwash them.
Yes.
How do they unbrainwash them?
By yelling
Well, they tell them truths.
feminist
Like,
propaganda
any
in their
power you
face.
have must be masked under a giggle. I have a question. I mean, I work with a lot of women. do they feel like the power that they have has to be masked under a giggle?
Yes.
Was this film written in 1943?
No, that's so real. That, like, I mean, I think I move through the world differently than a lot of women because of my size, and that makes people react to me very differently. Also because I'm quite fair, but I'm not white. And so I think there are a lot of instances where it's really hard for me to tell what I've done to upset somebody, but I know that their reaction is disproportionate to whatever it is that I've done because they're perceiving me differently than I actually am. And I alienate people by just being myself and not masking things under humor. Or I make a lot of statements where I feel like a lot of women ask a question when they say something, just like in their voice, the way their voice intones, the intonation of their voice. But I think that's real. And it doesn't surprise me that he doesn't know that.
Who wrote this film? Well, we know who wrote this film. A feminist writer who gets paid millions of dollars to make horse. One of them says, we have to reject men's advances without damaging their ego.
Facts!
Or theoretically, you
What?
could just reject men's advances and damage their ego because what do you care? You have to pretend to be confused
but
about
I
one.
think that to that, it's like, you don't want to hurt people, you know? And if somebody, man, woman, anybody, because I'm sure men experience this as well. If you want to stop somebody from making an advance at you, but you don't want to hurt them, like that's really hard because rejection sucks. Like that's universal. I think there's just more expectation for men to make that advance, you know? So there's then more expectation on women to rebuff the advance. Like that's their responsibility. Like it's the men's responsibility to ask and the women's responsibility to answer. I feel like it's a social convention that we have. Like maybe when women ask more and men are asked, like that kind of equalizer, that it will change. But as it is right now, fight with me in the comments if you like. But I just feel like that is true for women more because men ask more. But it's true for everyone.
Is this a real thing? Like, do women pretend to be confused about money so that men will explain it to them? This is.
I mean, I am confused about some things.
And then my very favorite.
And I ask anybody around me
pants?
to.
Because that's really what this is about. Is women really, really want to wear pants? That demonstrates the power of the patriarchy is that men really don't want women to wear pants, and women really, really want to.
Well,
wear
there
pants.
was a long. I mean,
Nice ass cut.
And then it's, you know, all the men being victimized, all the Kens being victimized by these various tactics, up to and including Ryan Gosling hitting on a trans woman, meaning a dude who has a voice deeper than Ryan Gosling's, which is an actual scene in the film, which is just great. Okay, so then final step.
I feel like Ken was
Finally,
hitting
the
on a
women have been
Barbie,
disabused.
but okay.
So now they're going to play the ultimate prank. The ultimate prank is that they are going to turn the men against each other. How are they going to turn the men against each other? They're going to turn the men against each other by switching partners.
It was very funny.
And Barbie is going to be with Ken, classic Barbie and classic Ken. They're going to be together, but then they're going to move on to the other Kens, and the Kens are going to start fighting each other over the ladies because they're going to switch over. Now, not to put too fine a point on this, but this makes no sense at all. Because guess what would happen if a bunch of beautiful women decided to switch to other men simultaneously? You know what the men would do? They would throw a party. So they turn the men against each other, and then we get
I don't know that that's what the men would do.
Of the Kens fighting each other using various implements ranging from like small bows and arrows with sticky cups at the end.
I think the switching thing, if anything, just like shows the loyalty of the Kens to their Barbie. That they are that jealous and they're not communicating it the right way, which results in this very funny beach fight. But I don't know. I feel like this movie does do a weird thing of talking about very heavy topics, but then making a lot of jokes. And poor Ben, I guess, just like didn't really grasp that. Maybe he will later.
To tennis rackets. And that turns into a
That was
musical
weird.
number.
I didn't really... There were parts of this... She sees a friend.
What does any of this have to do with the plot? Nothing. Literally
Yeah,
nothing.
it was
It's just
funny.
a 15-minute digression because they wanted to insert a crappy musical number.
A funny musical number.
And then
It was
what
very
are the women
funny.
doing during this time? The women are voting. The women are voting. So now we know the Democratic turnout strategy. The Democratic turnout strategy in 2024 is going to be to get all of the Republicans to fight with one another using tennis rackets while they go and they do the voting up here.
I'm sorry, making it hard for people to vote on something that concerns them is new to Ben Shapiro? He didn't know that this is a strategy of politicians since forever? My guy.
Don't look for any sort of logical coherence.
My guy.
Idiots who think they're smart,
Come on.
apparently. So they go and they vote. After they vote,
again, just
they
showing
reestablish
how imperfect
exactly
the Barbie
basically
world
how it
is.
was. The matriarchy. The matriarchy is reestablished. And Ken, who is now really sad because he's lost his power, and all he wanted in the first place was just to be treated decently by Barbie.
Right!
Is he treated decently at the end by Barbie? Of course he isn't. That would be silly.
She
At the very
apologizes
end,
to him, doesn't
he is told that he needs to learn to live without Barbie.
Yeah.
I just don't know who I am without you.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
He, who was literally created as a doll to be with Barbie, he needs to learn to be apart from Barbie, and she needs to learn to be apart from him, because atomistic isolation and loneliness is the best way to find fulfillment, lady.
No. Knowing yourself and loving yourself, and then going to others to love and be loved is the way to find fulfillment. Benny, do you need a hug or a nap?
Ladies and gentlemen, it'll be best for Ken if he never sees Barbie again. It'll be better for
I
Barbie
probably,
if she never
if
sees
like
Ken
you're
again.
just simping so hard on this
Secular
girl,
humanism
yeah.
is at its finest. We've reached the apotheosis. Men and women don't belong together. They belong very, very much apart. This is all topped off by Issa Rae calling somebody a motherfucker. Again, perfect for your 7-year-old girl who loves Barbie dolls. Just perfect for her. And so we learn that men and women are supposed to be separate. They're not supposed to be together.
It's not what we learned.
And that maybe the matriarchy will allow the men not to be on the Supreme Court of Barbieland, but maybe they can get some lower circuit court judgeships.
Right.
This is what we learned. And we learned one day the Kens might have as much power and influence in Barbie world as women have in the real world.
Right, because they're a reflection of us, and that is also not good. We also want the Kens to have more power than that, because it's illustrating how fucked up it is that the Barbie world is staying the same. That's what... Okay, go back.
Because, of course, women are again, just absolutely subjugated in the real world. You think that's the end of the movie. Wrong. This thing has more endings than Lord of the Rings. So, ending number 1 is we find out that Ken is going to live apart from Barbie.
That's
He's going
funny.
to find
More
himself.
endings than Lord of the Rings.
Ugh, the utter joy of self-exploration. Next, we get an ending in which the CEO of Mattel, who's been completely sidelined. You remember the CEO of Mattel? Remember he was supposed to be chasing them into Barbieland for no apparent
he was
reason?
in the
so
movie
he's now in
too
Barbieland.
much.
We don't know why he's there or what he's there to do.
That
except
Midge
that
bit
we need
was
Will
funny,
Ferrell
though.
in the movie to provide no laughs. He doesn't provide any laughs.
He
so
provided
he shows
a
up.
couple.
His motivation throughout this movie has been completely inconsistent. He started off wanting to put Barbie back in Barbieland
I agree.
so that they could make money. And then he is told at one point that when Kens have taken over Kendom, they will make just as much money. He's like, no, that cannot be. I'm an ideologue on behalf of women. And then he arrives, and he is told that America Ferrera wants to make ordinary Barbie.
Yeah, that was
which, by the
funny.
way, would sell 0. Anyway, that will be profitable. And so now he wants to make ordinary Barbie because he's back to being uber capitalist, evil capitalist. He's making money off of Barbie because, again, Mattel are the bad guys, but they're also the good guys. But they're kind of the bad guys, but they're mostly the good, but they're a little bad.
It's almost like everyone is a little good and a little bad. And it's hard being human, and we're all just out here trying our best.
And so that's ending number 2 at this point. So we have the Barbie Ken ending. We have the CEO of Mattel ending. Where he says, we'll make ordinary Barbie, and then girls all over the world will know that ordinariness is fine and okay. Because it's not that girls play with Barbie because they think that she's beautiful and it's aspirational. No, it's bad. Okay,
I think it's just like
then we have
having
ending
the
number
option,
3.
but okay.
You think you're done? Wrong. We're now 2 hours deep into this piece of shit. And we have now dug
I think
halfway
the
to
movie was
China.
like 10 to
and we are
15
going to keep
minutes too
digging.
long.
So we have ending number 3. Rhea Perlman shows up to lecture us all about the patriarchy again.
That was
You haven't
funny.
heard it enough.
I
We
liked
gotta
her
beat this
little
sucker into the ground. We are going to take the axe, the blunt end
That
of the
was
axe.
a
We're just
different
going to
movie
beat
thing.
this
That was
thing
funny.
to death. I'm just going to beat it to death. So Rhea Perlman shows up because Barbie, it turns out, she spent too much time in the real world. That was the patriarchy and was terrible. So terrible that she wanted to stop it from happening in Barbieland. But now she wants to go back there because she actually learned some feelings over in
I
the
didn't
real
understand
world.
why Barbie
So she
wanted to go
decides
to the real world,
that
really.
after all, this whole story was just Pinocchio. That she just wants to be a real boy. And in what can only be termed a sort of bait and switch, at the very end of the film, just to please the core audience, which is moms and daughters, they insert a bunch of footage, I kid you not, like home video footage of moms and daughters playing.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like people living their lives in female ways. Because Rhea Perlman is going to show Barbie what it's like to be a human, and then Barbie is going to...
Yeah, that also didn't make sense to me because I feel like being a human is actually quite hard, and she had all of these beautiful images and that was it, and it felt like she was going into the real world without a full idea of what being human was, you know? I think I wanted more of like a Fifth Element. She gets to the W, but somehow like didn't get any information on war before getting to the W, you know, like she didn't hit atom bomb in the A's, she hit that in the W's, but that's besides the point. Kind of just showing that all movies have plot armor and consistency issues, but whatever. I wanted Barbie to have like a more real view of what it was like to be human and then decide to go, or decide to stay as like an activist for the Kens. You know, that would have been really interesting, like if Barbie and Alan are like Ken activists or something in the Barbie world, in hopes that if they change things in the Barbie world, that will reflect into the real world. I think that would have been a cool ending too.
To say that she really wants to be a human just like you, just like you. And so they hit you with the nostalgia play. At the very end, the whole movie, which should have been nostalgia and about moms and daughters, instead, the entire movie is not that. The entire movie is instead about how men are evil and terrible. And also Mattel is evil and terrible. And then at the very end, they shove in this little nostalgia play in the hope to buy back the audience at the very end of the film. And Barbie decides that she is going to be a real woman now. Now, when she goes, that's ending number 3. There's still one more. So when that happens, when she goes to when she goes into this white area that's supposed to be heaven,
is it supposed to be heaven?
Rhea Perlman is actually the person who actually created the doll. And we're supposed to be, this was supposed to be a secret, is that Mattel was run by men, but the big secret all along is that a woman created the doll. News. It's not a secret.
I don't think it was supposed to be a
CEO of the company for 30 years. CEO of Mattel for 30 years, like 1945 to 1975, until the IRS caught her for tax evasion or something. The big reveal that the patriarchy said that it created Barbie, it didn't.
The patriarchy never said that.
Again, don't bother with the facts. Don't
Even
bother
at
with
the beginning of the movie,
chronology. Don't bother. None of it matters. So, Barbie is now sent back to the
Benny
real world,
is confused.
and she is now
He
going
needs
to
an app.
experience the apotheosis of what it means to be a human woman. So we've learned early on in the movie, when she goes to the real world, she's catcalled by a bunch of the construction guys.
What are you looking
and she
at?
says, I don't have a vagina. And she, again, amazing line for your 7-year-old girl. She'll love it. So apparently, when she is turned into a real woman, she has now grown a vagina. So the first thing that she does is she goes to the gynecologist.
I actually didn't love the
because,
ending
ladies,
line.
the apotheosis
Like, it was
of your being
funny,
is
but,
not
like,
motherhood.
I didn't-
We got rid of that
I
at the
didn't
very
really
beginning.
like it.
And it's not being a wife or a partner, because women are supposed to be apart from men. It is your vagina. It is that you go to the gynecologist. Ladies, this is what makes you the most human you can be, is that you go to the gynecologist.
Well, it is very intricate.
Now, I could point out
part
here
of being-
that that's really transphobic. That according to the same people who made this movie, not all women have vaginas. And not all people with penises are men. I could point that out right here.
You are pointing it out.
Because it obviously conflicts with the very ending of the film.
I don't
But
think
instead,
it
I'm gonna go with this one.
necessarily conflicts.
At the end of all of this, they've boiled down. They have a whole conversation about identity and death and meaning. Right? This whole conversation. What does it boil down to at the very end?
That Barbie
What
has
it boils
a vagina.
down to at the very end,
I
apparently,
didn't like the
is
line.
being biologically female is the only thing that matters.
I don't
And
think that that's what that line was
that's
saying.
it,
I think
kind
it
of.
was just a joke.
That's it. Like, it all just boils down to a lady at the gynecologist. That's female power. Female power is Barbie goes to gynecologist. Which, I don't know about you ladies, but that seems like that's not like the most feminist message.
I don't think that
lady
was
parts
the
are the entirety of the lady.
message. What are you looking at?
So excellent
Why does this
job.
bother me
And with
so
that,
much?
we end the film, and then we have the glossy, credits with a Nicki Minaj song.
Yeah, that was fun.
Nicki Minaj version of "I'm a Barbie Girl in a Barbie World." This movie started off as Barbie, and it was Weird Barbie. It was the
It
tour.
was Weird
handed
Barbie.
off to Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, and they played with
Okay,
it too
now,
hard.
while I'm thinking, they played with it too hard. That's so funny. While I'm thinking about it, I do think that America Ferrera's character and Weird Barbie's character have a parallel storyline throughout the movie. I'm interested to know if any of you guys have made it this far into the video, what you think of this. I feel like, yeah, they have parallel storylines because neither of them change. The world around them, like the people around them, accept them without them having to change. And I just thought that that was so nice and interesting. And I wish I had heard other reviewers talking about that. Because I feel like Weird Barbie was a pretty important character. And the other Barbies accepting her and apologizing to her is a parallel to the daughter telling the mom that, like, Weird Barbie was kind of like where the mom ended up fully accepting herself, where Weird Barbie fully accepted herself the entire time, where the daughter had to be like, hey, you're weird and dark, and like, I like that side of you, and the mom being like, yeah, I am weird and dark, and that's okay. You know, like, that's such a great, I loved that. And because we have that real world Weird Barbie and Barbie world Weird Barbie, we have Alan in the Barbie world and no Alan in the real world. Why is Adam not an Alan? They should have asked me.
Hard. They decided that they were going to turn it inside out. They're going to rip off the hair. They were going to shave it. They were going to make it ugly. They were going to put all sorts of makeup on it. And then they were going to throw it out in the public.
This was so funny.
Look at the process of this movie. They're like, man, so it sounds like a double sandwich. It doesn't sound like a Big Mac. It sounds like a double Big Mac. Right? It sounds like the plot is crap, and the characters are crap, and the humor is crap. And then on top of that, the politics are crap.
I loved it. I love this movie so much.
There's a reason this film has 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the reason is, if you are on the left, you can make one of the world's most boring, crappy comedies. You can waste an extraordinary amount of money and talent. You can waste some of the great IP ever created. But as long as you slather it in a bunch of warmed over glorious Steinem nonsense, the critics will just salivate over you. They'll pretend that this is an actual good movie.
I wonder what.
So here's my prediction.
He's talking about critics are 91. What's
the marketing campaign for
fans?
this movie has been astonishingly good, right? If you walked into this movie and you knew nothing of what I just said, what would you think this movie is? You would think that this movie is probably something like the Disney movie Enchanted, but with Barbie.
Yeah,
it's going to be
exactly
Barbie
right.
and Barbieland.
Exactly
and it's going to be Barbie
That's
in
what
the
I
real
thought.
world, and it's going to be charming, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be warm-hearted. And it's not.
But even Enchanted was very political. Like, in the end of the movie, she saves the prince. Or she saves the guy, McDreamy. That's still... Oh, Ben, you need a hug.
It's not going to be vicious and cynical. And it's not going to be what morons talk about at Hollywood cocktail parties. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be a place where a mom might be able to take her 7-year-old or 8-year-old girl and enjoy themselves together.
He's
and then
really
walk out with
into
their arms
moms
around
and
each other.
their
You might
young
think that's what it
children,
was
their
going to
young
be.
daughters.
And
I just
undoubtedly,
feel like...
millions of moms and their daughters will think that.
Is
that's
that
what you're seeing at
what
the theater.
the script is telling you?
That's why you're seeing everybody wearing pink to the theaters. It's become like a Star Wars kind of thing, right? It's an actual cosplay. The number
I do
of
love
moms
that.
who are going to
That's
take their
so
daughters
cute.
back to the theater week 2. Good luck with that.
I think they're doing pretty okay.
Hollywood decided to empty out its own IP here. They decided they were going to take a golden piece of IP and they were just going to smash it and turn it into Weird Barbie. And
I love Weird
tell
Barbie.
You, and this is going to have some ramifications for Barbie, the brand. I don't know why
Maybe
Barbie
that's
the
what I'll
brand
be for Halloween.
hand this
Weird
property
Barbie.
over to people who clearly hate the property.
Instead of
in the
in
real
this
world, the
economy
patriarchy
Barbie.
rules. Men are really bad. Women need to separate off from men and hate men in order to be unblinded to the patriarchy, and then they can overthrow the patriarchy and create paradise. That is the thesis.
The
of the
only
film.
person
Last
saying
comment.
that is you. And
Whenever I do film reviews like this, lengthy film reviews of movies like this, the left is always like, why are you taking this so seriously? How dare you take this so seriously?
I said that!
Well, because this is a movie where hundreds of millions of dollars will be expended to get people to watch it. It has a heavily political message.
It
is
does.
explicitly designed to divide men from women. It
No,
has
it's
these negative
not.
messages directed at kids. It is supposed to be a kids' movie. It's rated
It's not
PG-13. It is
negative
not marketed to
messages.
PG-13. It is marketed to PG. It is marketed to moms who are going to skip the
I
PG-13
agree.
rating
It
and
was
bring
not-
their daughters there anyway.
yeah, it was
It's
not
a
marketed
culturally relevant
PG-13.
moment, a very
It was
culturally
marketed
relevant
PG.
moment. And so the entire left's attempts to play the face tattoo syndrome, watch as we take a piece of children's IP and wear its skin around like a mask, like Hannibal Lecter, and we notice it, and then they're like, you noticed it? You're obviously very upset. I find it upsetting when material based on children's IP, marketed to
I
little
find
girls,
your
actually
upsetness
ends up being
funny.
angry feminist claptrap that
I don't
alienates
think it
men
was
from women,
angry.
undermines basic human values, and promotes falsehood all at the same time. And I think a lot of people are going to have a right to be mad. So we'll see what the income trajectory of this film is. By the way, it's just going to die in China. The overseas market for this film, good luck with the Chinese.
Let's see. 5th place on its second weekend in China. Decline. Oh, okay. That's fine. That's good. I don't know. I looked it up so that you guys would know. I don't really know what those numbers actually mean.
Chinese Communist government putting their kids in front of this sort of stuff. It is not going to happen. Final rating. Out of 10
like, is
Barbies,
that the goal?
how many
The
Barbies?
Chinese
10 out of 10
market?
being good. The answer is negative all the Barbies.
I would
Negative
say
all of them.
8
I
Barbies
honestly,
out of 10.
just as a piece of film, this sucker goes in like my bottom 10 ever. Ever. It is
You
that
decided
bad.
that before you
Not just
watched
because of
it,
the
though.
politics. Because the plot makes no sense. Because the writing makes no sense. Because the acting, half the time, makes no sense. The entire film is a
Brian Gosling
dog's
was
vomit.
great.
It is a dog's breakfast of film. So yeah, I'm gonna go with negative infinity Barbies. It is that bad. If 10 out of 10 Barbies is like
8
the
Barbies
stereotypical Barbie, this is Barbie head atop the robot body made by the weird kid from Toy Story 1.
Weird Barbie.
That's what this is. And also, by the way, Oppenheimer's good.
That's funny. Okay. Well, I'm gonna sign off and then like make a little message that I'm gonna put at the beginning of this video. I paused it a lot and talked a lot, so I feel like there isn't a ton for me to say here, but like if you made it to the end of this when I'm at an hour 20, like thank you so much. This was actually really a fun video to make, and I think I'm gonna have a good time editing it. So I hope you guys had a good time watching it. And I also hope that from this video, I guess my goal in like everything, in my responses to negative comments that I put on my Instagram, in the way I interact with people, is that we don't have to be that angry. Like it's okay to disagree and not hate each other. In fact, it's maybe better to surround yourself with people that don't share the same opinion as you all the time, and to have discussions to understand them, not to change their mind, but to just be able to communicate with them better. You know? I feel like Ben Shapiro wouldn't want to hang out with me, but I'd hang out with him. If we could agree that we're just gonna have like a super intense discussion and walk away with it with mutual respect, I would talk to anybody, and I hope you guys would too. You know, like, you could be mad at each other, but be friends instead, even in this economy. All right, I hope you guys are feeling happy and healthy and taking care of yourselves and each other, which is, as you well know, always easier when you are hydrated. So go get some water, because you're probably dehydrated.